What's inside Auschwitz exactly? Let's see.
"6 p.m., June 10th, 1944. A train grinds to a halt inside Auschwitz for the first time, hours after departing from Budapest. The doors swing open and thousands of people pour out, clamoring and scanning their surroundings. Smoke hangs in the air, mixing with the
Why he doesn't have any eyes? Because he maybe didn't want to see what's going on in Auschwitz.
sharp
By the way, if you know what is the Shoah, write in the comment section if you do.
of pungent ash. Violent shouts from guards direct passengers to place their few possessions besides the tracks. Bags containing only the bare
That's terrible.
essentials
Terrible.
and the most cherished possessions they could salvage from their homes.
My grandpa was
Standing
in
on the tracks
the
is
Shoah,
Lukács.
but not in this
He's
camp.
just 16 years old.
I
With
don't know
him
where
is
he
his
was,
father,
but he
Sandor.
was.
They are the last of their bloodline. A few days before,
He came
his
out.
family
He's alive.
had lived in
He
relative
has number
comfort.
and everything, but he's alive.
Lukács went to school.
He-
His father
I mean,
was
not
a
anymore,
pharmacist,
but he was
and
alive
they
after
resided
that.
in a large apartment. Life was good. Yesterday, that all changed. Lukács and his father are filed into a fast-moving line with other men and teenagers. Next to them is another queue with young children, women, and the elderly. At the front,
Terrible.
an SS doctor is inspecting the arrivals. Lukács has
That's
heard
bullshit,
rumors
and
of
for
the
what he's
atrocities committed
inspecting
by the
them?
Nazis,
That's bullshit.
but never in his wildest dreams did he
They're
imagine
going to
seeing
kill them all, so
firsthand.
it doesn't matter.
He is standing inside Auschwitz-Birkenau. But what he doesn't realize yet is the true scope of the operation. This complex, covering over 140 hectares, was built to imprison, exploit, and exterminate thousands of people.
Exterminate. Mostly Jews.
On the right of this was Auschwitz I, the original prisoner camp established in 1940. Initially used to hold the Polish resistance and political figures before it became overcrowded and Birkenau took over the responsibilities in 1942. It now serves as offices for the SS operating as the camp's administrative hub. Lukács and his father reached the front. This is no ordinary line. Life or death rests in the doctor's
It was
decision.
the worst winter
A signal to the
ever.
left spares them for forced
The
labor.
coldest winter ever.
A signal to the right leads to the gas chambers. The doctor pauses
And the baby is
looks at
naked.
them. Over 80% of the people sent to Auschwitz were murdered immediately at arrival. Just a
Insane.
minute ago, Tomas, who used to race Lukács home from school, and Mrs. Kovac, the elderly neighbor who would bring them warm bread, was deemed unfit to work and sent to the right.
So not fair.
The doctor signals left, and guards push them aside. Some may view this as fortunate, but they are unaware of the horrors that lie ahead. Lukács and the rest of the newly arrived prisoners are taken to the west end of the camp. Lukács enters the building, known as the sauna, and is immediately commanded to strip. He complies. Hair is shaved off his head, arms, and legs. A needle pierces his
That's the
flesh.
tattoo.
Finally, a number is stamped on his skin.
Like
In the
a
next
cow,
room,
like a
hundreds
cow,
of men
like an
shower
animal.
with ice-cold water.
It's terrible.
Within a matter of minutes, everything that once made Lukács special was stripped away.
He's like
As
an
Lukács
animal
is
now.
taken to the barracks, he passes the Kanata buildings. Here was a somber repository of belongings discarded by those who had just arrived, each item telling a story of hope and despair. 30 barracks house the items of the
They
thousands
would
of daily
burn
arrivals.
their clothes and take all the gold,
Inside,
melt it and
the
use it
buildings
again.
were filled
and
with
sell
shelves
it.
stacked high. Workers were ordered to
That's
organize
terrible,
everything,
the shoes. It's
sort
until
it,
today.
and
Like,
package it to be
it's
sent
terrible.
out to help the Nazi war efforts. Lukács is pushed into his new home, his father at his side. The room is cramped, packed with men and boys, all reduced to shadows of their former selves. Rows upon rows of wooden bunks stacked 3 high, each one barely wide enough for a man to lie flat.
it's insane.
The air is thick,
Like cattle,
heavy with the stench of
cows,
sweat,
animals.
decay, and sickness.
Sickness. Yeah.
The floors
the
are
rats.
damp and caked with filth. The wooden walls are
Malaria,
bare,
I don't know,
offering little
the sickness
insulation.
you're gonna get there.
A single dim lamp swings from the ceiling, casting just enough light for Lukács and his father
All of this
to
just
claim a
because
small
being
space on the top bunk.
Jewish.
On the hardwood, they fall asleep, unaware of the chaotic day that awaits them. They are currently located in the Jewish camp. Birkenau holds 300 wooden and brick barracks, divided by prisoner type. Women are housed in sectors B1A and B1B, while Romani prisoners are in sector B2E. Other groups such as homosexual
My grandpa
men,
was Romanian,
criminals, and Jehovah's
he wasn't,
Witnesses are also
Romanian
segregated.
too.
Each group wears a specific badge to indicate their identity.
This was my father's
Lukács
father.
He rises from his bunk. He gets the distinct impression that he needs to ready himself quickly. Everyone shuffles out of the barrack. The rain starts to come down. Lukács feels the cold seeping in. His body shivers as he stands in silence. Around him, shoulders sag
I
under
like
the
it
weight of
that he
exhaustion.
didn't did the eyes, the
A
guy
man
that
in the
made
row
this
ahead
video.
stumbles,
It's
collapsing
insane.
face
That
first
is
into the
insane.
mud. Not a single prisoner flinches.
Yeah.
An SS guard notches something in his book. Time feels heavy for Lukács. Will anyone help him? He thinks. One of the guards barks an order. A prisoner in a similar uniform, but with
Barks
an
an order.
armband, hurries forward and without hesitation, grabs the body by the arms. The man is dragged away, leaving a smear of mud in his wake. Lukács knows it. He has just seen death for the first time. It's becoming
Jesus
clear
Christ.
that survival here depends on endurance, attracting little attention, and not falling ill. Lukács is assigned to a work group at Auschwitz, and a troubling fear settles in. He doesn't know where his father is going, and
Yeah,
deep down,
if you're ever
he
gonna
fears
see him again.
he may never see him again. As he walks with the others to his station, a strange melody begins to waft through the air. Lukács glances around, searching for the source of the music. He spots an orchestra. A group of women stands under a watchful gaze of a conductor, performing songs for the prisoners. Their voices rise in haunting harmonies, contrasting
Insane.
sharply with the grim surroundings. Before they leave his sight, he locks eyes with a young girl playing a flute. She gives him a smile. Lukács smiles back. As he arrives at his station, Lukács is shocked. Monowitz is the third and final edition of Auschwitz.
They killed
a
all
huge
talented
factory
people.
complex.
Doesn't care who
It
he is.
primarily produced
If he's
synthetic
Jewish,
rubber
they're
and
gonna
fuel,
kill him. It's
exploiting
insane.
slave labor of the camp to support Germany's war efforts. This large industrial complex was dominated by tall brick chimneys emitting thick, black smoke. The
God.
factory buildings are massive, with barred windows that give them a prison-like appearance. For the next 6 hours, Lukács works to the bone. Any excuse will result in being shouted at,
course,
tormented,
without any questions.
or beaten. His group is tasked with offloading and moving sacks full of heavy raw materials from a train cart onto a conveyor belt.
This is probably an effort for the war.
As Lukács works, he loses himself in thought to distract his mind from the pain. He wonders why so few
Whoa.
people knew of the Auschwitz operations. That's because the camp, being located in southern Poland, about 25 miles from the major city of Krakow, was no accident. Upon creation, it had already established railway connections, allowing the easy transportation of prisoners and supplies. Its proximity to populated areas allowed the camp to remain inhabited, while its relative isolation helped hide it from the world. His thoughts continue. Throughout the morning, 2 other prisoners collapse and are left to die. Unlike earlier, no one is there to take them away. As the clock strikes 12, the workers stop. It's time for food. Lukács has passed his ration of
They
watery
eating
soup with
only
rotten turnips
rotten
and potato
food with
cubes.
mold.
While Lukács eats, he
Beans
overhears
of
2 fellow
potatoes.
prisoners discussing rumors about bizarre experiments taking place near the main hospital. Inside one of the rooms is Joseph Mengele,
Mengele.
one of the most evil doctors the world has
insane.
ever seen. Today's task involves working on twins, a particular obsession of his. A few days prior, he infected them with typhus to see how their genes affect their risk of getting sick. Now,
My
he's
God.
checking on their progression. If one twin dies, the surviving sibling is killed to allow a side-by-side dissection. His mission is racial purity, and his experiments have no limits.
That's
Meanwhile,
insane.
at Monowitz, the day wears on. Lukács feels his legs growing heavier with each step. The work seems endless. Then it happens. He slows down just for a second. His grip on the material loosens, and a sharp crack echoes as it hits the ground. Without hesitation, a guard rushes over. His face is twisted with rage. Lukács barely has time to react before the blows rain down. The guard doesn't stop. To scream would only bring more punishment. Lukács is left crumpled in the dirt, grasping for air. He knows that if he stays down for too long, he will get dragged away. Lukács wishes his dad could be there to comfort him. Suddenly, a horrific thought comes to mind. What if he's dead?
Yeah.
As Lukács limps back to his barracks, a group of guards walk in another direction. Their quarters are a very different world, sheltered from the horrors that surround them. This section of the camp is made up of over 30 buildings housing hundreds of SS guards. The barracks are made from brick and include multiple rooms, often equipped with basic furnishings such as beds, tables, and
It's
personal
17
storage.
minutes, the video.
The same officers torturing and murdering prisoners every day have access to amenities like proper sanitation facilities and heating. 7 p.m. Lukács is walking back into his barrack. Amongst the hundreds of prisoners there, he's using his remaining strength to see if his father is amongst them.
This video, like what's inside Auschwitz, he didn't exactly said what inside Auschwitz he did, but there are a lot of things missing, especially details about the gas chambers and mostly it.
Finally, near his bunk, he sees a man hunched over with blood on the floor. It's his dad.
It's dead.
He hugs him, but his father is almost too weak to stand. He was assigned to work laying railway tracks, and during the day, someone tried to escape. They were shot and killed on the spot. Almost everyone else in the group was beaten badly, including his father. Lukács tells his father to stay put and rushes off to get food. On the northern side of the camp was a row of kitchen barracks. There was one or two for each section of the different population groups.
Where was God in all of this?
Inside, prisoners are preparing dinner for the workers. Lukács arrives and manages to find 2 stale pieces of bread and a small sausage. He quickly hurries back.
Looks
While
tasty.
his father recovered in his bunk, from the corner of his eye, Lukács noticed a small group of prisoners huddled together on the dirt floor. They were playing chess. The pieces were crudely fashioned from wood.
Oh,
The board itself was scratched into the dirt floor. Its lines uneven, but clear enough to follow. One of the men saw Lukács hovering over and invited him to join. For a few minutes, they weren't in Auschwitz. They weren't prisoners. They were chess players, strategists, tacticians. For the next few months, these were the only moments Lukács looked forward to.
yeah, at least that.
The summer of 1944 brought nearly 2 months of hell for Lukács and his father,
One
as the
more year
Nazi
for
war
Willis.
machine rapidly crumbled. In the east, Soviet forces were advancing, reclaiming nearly 100,000 square kilometers of territory. Time was running out for the Nazis, but it was also running out for Lukács and the thousands of other prisoners still trapped inside. 6 a.m., August 1st, 1944. Since their arrival inside nearly 2 months ago, Lukács and his father had faced a brutal life. Little food, no breaks, and constant beatings. Outside, reporting to their work assignment, Lukács realizes his father is barely conscious. Then, he hears a thump. A few meters away, his father collapsed into the mud and is not moving. Lukács paused for a moment, wondering how he could get him to the prisoner's hospital. Many prisoners suffered from tuberculosis, malaria, meningitis, and dysentery.
I don't know any
Lukács'
of
dad
those
is
diseases.
suffering from the same fate as countless others: exhaustion mixed with starvation. This section of the camp consisted of over a dozen barracks in repulsive conditions. Camp doctors could not help many of their patients. They were also prisoners themselves. Even if he was transported to the hospital, the conditions were so squalid that the chances of survival would be extremely low. At night, rats would chew away at the legs of the sick, both those
Jesus.
alive and dead. An SS guard approaches Lukasz's father and screams at him to raise himself up. He musters whatever strength he has to shakily stand. But his fate is
They
sealed.
didn't know that the war is gonna be
The guard
finished
gives
even.
one signal, and 2 other guards
It's
come
hard to
to
have
escort him
hope in
away.
these like few years.
He won't be
It's
heading to
crazy
the hospital.
to survive like that.
Lukasz's father is placed in a steady moving line entering the crematorium building number 2 in the northwest of the camp away from the prisoner barracks. These 4
cool.
structures are built with deceptive facades to prevent panic about the imminent fate. Inside, the room is bare and windowless, except for one unsettling feature: a series of tall, mesh-covered
Yeah,
columns
this is what
that
I wanted
stretch
to
from
see
floor
here
to
in the
ceiling.
video. It's terrible.
These columns were the delivery system for Zyklon B, the cyanide-based pesticide used to murder prisoners in horrific numbers. Once the chamber is sealed, SS guards drop the gas pellets through these columns, releasing lethal fumes, filling the room within minutes.
Absolutely
Each gas
terrible.
chamber was connected to an adjacent crematorium, where the bodies were immediately disposed of.
Absolutely
At the
terrible.
peak of the Holocaust in 1944, the camp murdered somewhere between 3,000 to 5,000 people each day.
Oh god.
On this day, that included Lukasz's father.
Oh no.
Between 1944 and January 1945, the Soviets got closer and closer to the German homeland. The SS began to abandon various concentration and labor camps it had built throughout the Eastern Front. In January of 1945, the Soviets entered Auschwitz. The troops see a few thousand prisoners, gaunt and starving. To them, it's liberation.
Yeah.
But for Lukács, it was too little, too late.
At least he was alive.
He was 250 miles away. Marching through the dead of winter along with 1,000 others, Lukács had managed to make it so far, but his body can't handle it any longer. He collapses on the side of the road, falling face first into the snow.
Oh.
A guard shouts at him to stand, but Lukács no longer has the strength. The last sound he hears is a rifle being cocked, followed by a shot that echoes through the cold air.
Insane.
Auschwitz operated from May 1940 to January 1945. It expanded from the original barracks at Auschwitz I to include Auschwitz-Birkenau and the slave worker factory of Auschwitz-Morowitz.
Wow, this is from today.
Lukács and his father may be fictional, but they stand for the
Wow.
countless lives shattered by the Nazi regime
have to
and
go
its
there one
supporters
day.
during their merciless terror across Europe.
I have to go
Of
there.
the 1.1 million people transported to Auschwitz, over 900,000 were murdered or worked to death shortly after arrival.
God, insane. Thank you so much for making this video. Atrium, thank you so much.